Pop Conscious Caregiving is a way of using pop culture and being conscious of what's happening and being creative about how to reframe it, really to kind of entertain myself in the moment and get through whatever it is I'm trying to get through. So I've created, with the help of ChatGPT, a bunch of little cartoons as part of my entertainment and sort of reminders. And it evolved. So let me take you through my journey. And the first image I created was Caregivers Wear All the Hats. And I was kind of thinking of the Village People. There's a song in your head right now, isn't there? Yeah. So it was a day when I had done some plumbing, some nursing, some accounting, and I hadn't gotten very far into the day. And I thought, oh my gosh, I think caregivers, we have to wear all the hats. Sometimes we have to put on the, tribal chief headdress and just take charge of everything. And sometimes we got to put on the police or the fire or the hazmat suit. We got to switch hats as we go. It's part of the creative process of it is, for me, I'm alone with my parents most of every day. And so I got to be whatever's needed. And my parakeet just chirped in the back, so sometimes I'm bird wrangler as well as parental wrangler. Another image, probably the next one, was Crazed Caregiver, which I can't even say. Watch out. And I kind of imagine this as one of those magnetic things to put on the doors of my car. Because one of the days I was driving my dad to his house, I felt very rushed and harried and hurried and was trying to adjust the air conditioning and the sound and the windows and wasn't really paying attention. And I had only gotten a few houses down the street and looked up to see that I was almost going to run over a neighbor, which probably isn't neighborly. So I thought I should really warn people that they should be wary of me. So I created that little graphic. I haven't put it on the car yet, but I might, anytime now. And then it evolved into Caregiver Math. So, especially on days when it's hot, I find myself checking the temperature and looking at the app on my iPhone to see what time is the temperature going to go down a little. And then I'm checking my dad's blood sugar and his blood pressure and sort of estimating with all of those things what is the likely effect of the heat on his brain. Has he had enough to drink? How much walking is involved? Where do we need to go? Does he really need to go? Does he insist on going anyway? All of these things are involved in the caregiver math. But an important ingredient is the heart. Now that I had my little caregiver character there, I used her a lot. So my mom had asked how I was doing or if I was okay. And I said, I'm at least 3 of the 7 dwarves right now. I'm grumpy, I'm sleepy, and I'm Doc. I don't remember what the third one was, but sometimes I feel like I have to be Doc. So I was trying to come up with mythical creatures of caregiving and thought garden gnomes would be good for giving care. So sometimes I feel downright crazy. That one looks like he's not even wearing clothes. Weepy happens a lot. Triggered so often. Dragging, which sometimes I like to say dragon, so I feel like another mythical creature. Sometimes I do feel very wise, mostly overwhelmed, and compassionate is when I'm at one of my better stages. Overwhelmed also, you can think of the sound effect from the movie Overboard, the Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell version, where she just stared and went, ba 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 ba. I reference that a lot. And then while I was looking at mythical creatures that I might use to show all the different sides of caregiving, it's all the different hats, but from a different angle, ChatGPT suggested Shee, like a banshee, but it's a cat. It's Scottish, Gaelic, and So I liked it because the cat distribution system did finally find its way into my life. I had successfully been just a dog and bird person, and our family had been that way. And then once I started helping my dad after my stepmom passed, they had some cats that they fed on the patio, and then the family grew, and now we have 6 cats between the 2 houses. And really they do represent different aspects of things that I may feel it sometimes. Sometimes I'm feeling pretty fickle. Sometimes I'm experiencing my shadow side. Sometimes I challenge what's happening. There's a little magic involved. Sometimes I have to be tough. And sometimes I'm just an old, gristly, grumpy creature. So there's, I think, a Final Fantasy character. Then the Caregiver Tree-age. So I like to think of Groot. I like to think of Grandmother Willow from Pocahontas, Disney's Pocahontas. The sturdiness and groundedness and rootedness of a tree for triage, because I often find myself in between doing one thing and the next and trying to decide what is the next priority. And so if I can think of a triage and just for even a second ground myself, take a breath, and think of how to prioritize based on the time and the resources, and what is really mine to do is how I think of ethics. And then the emotion. Am I doing this because I'm having an emotional trigger right now? Is it really that important? Maybe I have to calm my emotions to make a clearer decision. So I think that's a useful framework for any caregiver. And sometimes I have to decide not to do everything perfectly and just be the OK-est carer I could be. See, I like how it looks like it's supposed to say caregiver and it's behind her head, but my family in Sri Lanka called my aunt's caregiver her carer. It cuts out a couple of syllables. Okay, just one. Caregiver. Carer. But she looks kind of resigned and not so happy about it, so I gave her a happy face. So yeah, she looks kind of overwhelmed. Her eyes are kind of glazed over, but she's okay with being the OK-est carer she can be. And then I was making notes to myself and I wanted to put CG as caregiving, but having been in technology and entertainment and communication, CG means computer generated to me. And then I thought, oh, like the holodeck. So what if I imagine that this is just a challenge, a computer-generated challenge that I've come up with, and I can imagine it differently. I can imagine scenarios where I could move this, I can shift this to another experience. Okay, so my dad is really into guppies, so I made 2 guppy graphics. One is a blue guppy. He has some electric blue guppies that when I was with him once at an aquarium hobbyist thing, somebody came up and asked him about those. So that kind of stuck in my head, because I don't spend a lot of time at the guppy events or in the fish room. I didn't used to anyway. So I started trying to come up with different things that guppy could stand for. And there are positive and not so positive ones. And for guppies. And then the final one that I have here to share is the cosmic chaos of caregiving. Sometimes I check my horoscope because I just feel the need for input and guidance and hope, and sometimes it's the horoscope, sometimes it's the trivia packet, sometimes it's the little tag on the tea bag, sometimes it's a commercial or a song, sometimes I created, different planets. If this were the cosmos, and it does feel very chaotic, what would be the planetary influences? And sometimes it's sadness, and sometimes it's love, and sometimes it's responsibility. It's a big planet. Burnout looms large. Sometimes I take side quests. Sometimes snacks are important. And sometimes it's kind of a WTF, what is happening sort of a reality I find myself in. So all of these graphics are now available at Redbubble. I created a shop. You can have them put on almost any product. If you don't see what you want there, let me know. I will try to figure it out for you. And there will be more to come. So I'll put the link to the shop in the description. And please do go check it out and watch for more explanations and ways to use these as mnemonic devices, guidance, clues to help through your caregiving journey. And if you have ones that you'd like to see made and you want me to try it with my caregiving character, let me know. Leave a comment. All right, thanks.